allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a couple of things of housekeeping before I proceed. One is Benjamin is going to just vote and not read the resolution. So just, you can do seconds.
No problem.
But we'll skip over you for resolution read. So just so the town board knows that. We also have a number of public hearings that we're going to adjourn. So if you are here for Pike, that's going to be opened and adjourned immediately for the applicant's request. Totonus, we're going to open and adjourn that because we're waiting for WMAC review. The Sun is Shining LLC, we're going to open and then immediately adjourn that pending WMAC review. And then the O'Sullivan Wetlands application, same thing, we will open and then immediately adjourn it. So if anyone's here for those, you're off the hook for tonight. And we will not be here until 11:30 tonight. All right. So we have correspondence with respect to one of the resolutions.
It's the letter regarding the Harbay Road from the Ram Island Association.
Yes, please.
Sir and Madam, the Ram Island Association thanks the town board for their action and consideration in proposing to add Middle Harbay Road Town Landing to the official list of public landing. We ask that the town amend their resolution as follows to properly designate the town landing in a manner that accurately reflects the records. Our proposed amendments are as follows. Whereas resolution number 560 dated December 30th, 2020, created the Shoreline Access Task Force for the purpose of reviewing and enacting regulations pertaining to town-owned and maintained landings, providing access for residents and visitors to access town areas. And whereas the Shoreline Access Task Force created a final recommendations document dated April 7, 2022, in which it designated several town-owned sites as shoreline access points. And whereas the Middle Harbay Road Town Landing, as surveyed by Pat Sicafico on February 28, 2001, as file number L23 and L24, has served as a town-owned landing, providing access to the public town. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby add Middle Harbay Road Town Landing to the list of designated shoreline access points included in the final recommendations document created by the Shoreline Access Task Force dated April 7, 2022. Thank you for your consideration and action. Sincerely on behalf of its members, Brad Coppins, President, Ram Island Association.
So on that one, when we get to that resolution, we will call for discussion to discuss the suggestions. Is there anyone in the public who has any comments on any other resolutions that were not subject to public hearings? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, we'll proceed with resolutions.
Be it resolved that the town board hereby calls for a public hearing to be held 6:04 p.m. on the 10th day of November, 2025, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to a proposed local law entitled Override of the Tax Levy Limit, of which provides as follows. A local law entitled Override of the Tax Levy Limit, be it enacted by the town board of the town of Shelter Island as follows. Section 1, legislative intent. It is the intent of this local law to override the limit on the amount of real property taxes that may be levied by the town of Shelter Island, County of Suffolk, pursuant to the general municipal law, Section 3C, and to allow the town of Shelter Island, County of Suffolk to adopt a town budget for A, town purposes, B, fire protection districts, and C, any other special or improvement district governed by the town board for the fiscal year 2026 that requires a real property tax levy in excess of the tax levy limit as defined by General Municipal Law, Section 3-C. Section 2, authority. This local law is adopted pursuant to subdivision 5 of the General Municipal Law, Section 3C, which expressly authorizes the town board to override the tax levy limit by the adoption of a local law approved by vote of 60% of the town board. Section 3, tax levy limit override. The town board of the town of Shelter Island, County of Suffolk is hereby authorized to adopt a budget for the fiscal year 2026 that requires a real property tax levy in excess of the limits specified in General Municipal Laws 3C. Section 4, severability. If any claims, sentence, paragraph, subdivision, or part of this local law, or the application thereof to any person, firm, or corporation, or circumstance shall be adjusted by any court of competent jurisdiction to be invalid or unconstitutional, such order or judgment shall not affect, impair, or invalidate the remainder thereof, but shall be confined in its operation to the clause, sentence, paragraph, subdivision, or part of this local law, or in the application to the person, individual, firm, or corporation, or circumstance directly involved in the controversy in which such judgment or order shall be rendered. Section 5, effective date. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas Robert and Elizabeth Jaffe of 19 Westmoreland Drive have petitioned the town of Shelter Island for a wetlands permit to remove 2 existing dwellings, wells, septic, decks, and other typical residential construction. New work to include new 5-bedroom house, well, IA, OWTS, decks, swimming pools, stormwater control, and other typical residential improvements. New swimming pool and portion of deck and screen porch to be adjacent regulated area less than 100 feet from nearby wetlands as per plans submitted by Matthew Sherman. Now therefore, whereas a notice of disapproval was issued by the town of Shelter Island Building Department on March 3rd, 2025. I'm going to skip through the whereas clauses because they're all on the website and go to the resolved clauses. Be it resolved that the town board finds that the project meets the standards enumerated in the town code section 129-5 as inter alia. The proposed project will not, 1, create a risk of impairing the function and value of the wetlands and buffer, diminish any wetlands in size unless the approving authority finds that the proposed activity is water dependent or requires access to the wetlands as a central element of its basic function and will result in the minimum possible alteration or impairment of the wetlands. Negatively impact the quantity and quality of groundwater, create a net increase in the risk of runoff, and be it further resolved that the town board further finds that there are no practical alternatives which allow the project to be constructed outside the regulated area, and the applicant has submitted information to describe alternative site locations and configurations sufficient for the determination that the proposed work and location would have a less adverse environmental impact than any other practical alternative, and the applicant will voluntarily implement within 3 months of the issuance of the permit adequate mitigation measures that will contribute to the protection and enhancement of the wetlands and wetlands benefits. And be it further resolved that the town board hereby approves the issuance of a wetlands permit for the proposed demolition, abandonment, construction, modification, removal, and installation at 19 Westmoreland Drive in accordance with the wetlands permit site plan prepared by Matthew Benjamin Sherman, dated last revised September 9th, 2025, on the following conditions. 1, all activities authorized by this permit shall strictly conform to the wetlands permit site plan prepared by Matthew Benjamin Sherman, dated last revised September 9th, 2025. Any work or disturbance and storage of construction materials shall be confined to the area landward of the 100-foot wetlands boundary. 3, prior to the commencement of any construction activities, a continuous line of trenched-in wire-back silt fence shall be staked as necessary to prevent runoff from the property. The screen shall be maintained, repaired, and replaced as often as necessary to ensure proper function until all disturbed areas are permanently revegetated. Sediments trapped by the screen shall be removed away from the screen and approved to an approved upland location before the screen is removed. The wire-back silt fence shall be a minimum of 14-gauge wire with a 6-inch mesh spacing. 36-inch post shall be driven a minimum of 16 inches into the ground and set no more than 10 feet apart. Silt fencing shall be recessed by trenching 6 inches into the ground. Number 4, the vegetative buffer shall be restored in a manner consistent with the planting plan, dated May 6, 2025. The town board or its designee reserves the right to require additional native vegetation and or other restoration measures in the event that upon final inspection,
A finding is made that the goals of establishing a contiguous, healthy cover of native or natural vegetation within the designated revegetation area has not been achieved. 5, all areas of soil disturbance resulting from the project shall be revegetated and mulched immediately upon completion of the project within 2 days of final grading or by the expiration date of the wetlands permit, whichever is first. If revegetation is impractical due to the time of year, temporary mulch shall be applied and final revegetation performed as soon as the weather conditions favor germination and growth. The vegetative cover shall cover at least 85% in an area with contiguous unvegetated areas no larger than 1 square foot. 6, the final wetlands inspection shall be applied for and obtained upon completion of all permitted activities in the event that the town or its designee determines that the property is not in compliance with all the terms and conditions of this permit. The applicant shall submit additional applications for a final wetlands inspection. And 2, copies of any final as-built survey shall be submitted with the required final wetlands inspection. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Where's,
Opposed.
okay, sorry.
Just a statement, the Conservation Advisory Committee and the majority of the planning board both wanted this project out of the 100-foot wetlands barrier. I think we needed to support that. I agree with it, and I think we needed to support it.
Sorry, didn't catch these, didn't vote. Okay. Motion carried. Whereas the Shelter Island Yacht Club, 12 Peakwood Avenue, petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to perform a maintenance dredge 20 feet by 60 feet and 10 feet by 90 feet, areas adjacent to existing bulkhead totaling 2,100 square feet to a maximum depth of minus mean low water, and barge approximately 95 cubic yards of sand soil to an approved upland location as depicted on the project plan prepared by N Consultants dated January 19, 2024, with DEC approval on March 28, 2024. And whereas the town board has reviewed submitted application, now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to NYC RR 617.5C2, this application is deemed a type 2 action. Reasons supporting this determination: the proposed construction, 1, will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels or an interference with navigation. 2, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under town waters. 3, will not adversely affect shell fishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. 4, will not adversely affect the quality of the tidal water, shorelines, or beaches. 5, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed after said applicant pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 liability insurance on the location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit, the said contractor has an owner/contractor's policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for the liability limits of at least $500,000 covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit. And be it further resolved that said operation shall be completed within 2 years from the date of issuance of this permit. Said permit is subject to the recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Gordon, can you second it? Second.
Okay, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion carried.
Whereas resolution number 560 dated December 30th, 2020, created a shoreline access task force for the purpose of reviewing and enacting regulations pertaining to the town-owned and maintained landings, providing access for residents and visitors to the town access areas. And whereas the Shoreline Access Task Force has created a final recommendation document dated April 7th, 2022, in which it designated several town-owned sites as shoreline access points. And whereas Middle Harbury Road Landing has served as a town-owned landing, providing access to the public. Now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby adds Middle Harbury Road Town Landing to the list of designated shoreline access points, included in the final recommendation document created by the Shoreline Access Task Force. So move.
Second.
Discussion? All right, so the correspondence that we received, there were a couple of edits that were made. One was adding that under the third whereas, the Middle Harbor Road Town Landing. So we'd insert the word town there. And then there was another request to put in, as surveyed by Pat T. Cicafico on February 28, 2001, is file number L23 and L24. We do not, Thomas, you were doing a little bit more research this afternoon,
Right.
not have that survey as an official town document.
Yeah, not that, I mean, I have like a printout, but I don't have a stamped survey. I don't know who it was certified to. So I think if the board wanted to add that in, just request more time to just make sure that that's a, official survey, that we have it on file, that in the future, if someone requests it, it's legitimate, So that was my only concern with its additions. Otherwise, I don't think the additions are a problem.
And we could just drop it.
Right, yeah, I mean, I
It's
think.
not in, so they were requesting that we put it in.
Right, so
Yeah,
you just want
but-
to include it and we can
Let's
pass
not
this.
include it, just keep going.
Okay, all right. And then the last recommendation was that the Shoreline Access Task Force document was dated April 7th, 2022. So we would add that at the very end of the,
We already have it in the second whereas clause. Oh, that's true,
Yeah,
it's already
it's
in
right
there.
okay. All right, so with the amendment of adding town landing, oh, you're taking the work?
I have what they referenced, but I don't know if it's made for the town or anything like that. So, we would still have to see where and why. Right, we didn't.
Okay, okay.
I think someone just did it.
Handed it to us, okay.
It would have had to be certified to the town.
Yes, right, okay, all right. So then we'll make the amendment of adding town in the third whereas clause for landing. So if there's no more discussion,
What are we doing by the survey?
we're not going to
We're not.
incorporate it because it wasn't issued to the town. So,
We could, but it would delay this
Yeah, I know.
even more, and nobody wants that.
We can add this we can add this at a later date, correct? I mean,
we would have to amend the resolution,
Yeah, we could go
All right.
with the
but
amendment
we'd have to, I
in the
think,
future.
if it's not our survey, we'd have to actually,
and we don't have a copy of it.
we have a copy, but it's not certified,
Even if
it's not
they're,
stamped.
I have a printout, but I don't, it's like I can't really, there's no stamp, it's not certified to the town, and really anyone that I can tell, so I just had to have a little more time to research it.
So our choices are,
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just have to get it certified.
yeah, so our choices are we adopt as is, we adopt and amend later, or we just push this resolution to a
It's
later
adopted
date.
now, and then we'll get an updated, okay?
Okay,
Get a survey.
so end of discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the term of George Zinger as a member of the Board of Assessment Review expired on September 30th, 2025, and whereas Mr. Zinger has expressed willingness to continue to serve in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that George Zinger is hereby appointed to serve as a member of the Board of Assessment Review for a term to expire on September 30, 2029. So move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the term of Howard Johansson as a member of the chairman of the Conservation Advisory Council expired on September 20th, 2025, whereas Mr. Johansson has expressed willingness to continue to serve in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Howard Johansson is hereby reappointed to serve as a member and chairman of the Conservation Advisory Council for a term to expire on September 20th of 2027. So moved.
Second, all in favor? Motion carried. Whereas the term of Daniel Clark as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council expired on September 20th, 2025, and whereas Mr. Clark has expressed willingness to continue to serve in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Daniel Clark is hereby reappointed to serve as member of the Conservation Advisory Council for a term to expire on September 20th, 2027. So moved.
Okay, okay,
All in favor? Motion carried.
okay. Whereas Ulrich Ambrose is hereby reappointed to serve as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council for a term to expire on September 20th, 2027. So moved. Did I get something wrong here?
There's a piece at the bottom of page 6
Okay,
and the top of page 7.
you're right, there it is. Okay, whereas the term of Elrich Ambrose, a member of the Conservation Advisory Council, expired on September 20th, 2025, and whereas Mr. Ambrose has expressed willingness to continue to serve in said capacity now, therefore, be it resolved that Ulrich Ambrose Hurst is hereby reappointed to serve as member of the Conservation Advisory Council for a term to expire September 20th, 2027. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be resolved that Lorene Meehan is hereby appointed to serve as custodial aide for the year 2025 to be paid at a rate of $27 per hour, retroactive to October 12th, 2025. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
be it resolved that Marissa Finelli is hereby appointed as custodial aide for the year of 2025 to be paid at a rate of $27 per hour, retroactive to October 6, 2025. So moved.
Second, all in favor? Motion carried. Be it resolved that the town board hereby ratifies an agreement with employee Catherine L. Thuman. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to sign an agreement between the town of Shelter Island and Williamson Law Book Software in connection with positive pay contract. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the town of Shelter Island has received a check in the amount of $18,992 from the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association as a reimbursement for Solitude Lake management invoices related to the harvesting of undesirable and harmful aquatic vegetation in Fresh Pond. And whereas the reimbursement relates to resolution number 322 adopted on July 21st, 2025, and resolution number 334 adopted on August 5th, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved that the following 2025 budget modification are hereby approved. An increase of $18,992 to the 2025 A2705P Fresh Pond donations revenue account, and an increase of $18,992 to the 2025 A1490.497 Engineering Professional Services Expense Account. So move.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
be it resolved that the following 2025 budget modifications are hereby approved. $4,643.99 increase to the 2025 A2770P preschool program reimbursement revenue account to be funded by the check received from the Shelter Island Early Childhood Learning Center for the October 2025 program, and an increase to the following expense accounts. $3,549 increase to A7020.102 recreation aids, $271.50 increase to A9030.800 Social Security, $447.17 increase to A9010.800 New York State Retirement, $43.43 increase to A9040.800 Workers' Compensation, $320 increase to A7020.408 Presbyterian Church Rent, and $21.89 increase to A1910.400 unallocated insurance. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas the expenditure of funds from the Water Quality Initiative for the purpose of paying annual membership dues to the Peconic Estuary Partnership is an allowable and appropriate use of such funds, and whereas the Peconic Estuary Partnership plays a vital role in protecting and improving the water quality of the Peconic Estuary and its surrounding ecosystems, now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $14,450 for the 2024 dues and $14,250 for the 2025 dues from the Water Quality Initiative funds within the Community Preservation Fund account for payment of the 2024 and 2025 annual membership dues to the Peconic Estuary Partnership. So moved.
Second, quick discussion.
Sure.
So why, it wasn't paid in '24?
They didn't bill us,
They didn't bill us.
Yeah.
Okay.
but it's in the legislation, overriding legislation that we pay dues every year to.
Okay.
Remember, this amount it comes out of the Water Advisory, the WQI,
Water quality.
their account. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
right.
Second, do we can make a motion?
Yes, okay. Then we'll close discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, I'm next, okay.
You're next.
Be it resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $3,148.74 from the A1330.476 tax receiver computer software to Emmons GovTech at 301 Tilton Road, Northfield, New Jersey, 08225 for tax collection maintenance software. 120125 to 113026. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to deposit the sum of $668.25 from the North Ferry Company Incorporated to the A3120.100 PD Personal Services account for the assistance of traffic control. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the following budget transfers are hereby approved. $1,584 from B 3620-483 to Building Department Association of Towns to B 3620-492, Building Department Education and Training, and $1,584 from B 8010-483, Zoning Department Association of Towns to B 8010-440, Zoning Department Education and Training for purchasing of building code books. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Be it resolved that the 2025 general claims numbered 1866 through 1996 in the amount of $114,140.65, 2025 highway claims numbered 205 through 225 in the amount of $131,874.05, 2025 Community Preservation Fund claims numbered 24 through 27 in the amount of $11,703, and 2025 Water Quality Improvement Claim Number 28 in the amount of $5,875 are hereby approved for payment as audited, and the supervisor and/or any town board member is hereby authorized and directed to sign the approval for payment of same. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, we will now move on to the public hearings, and the first one is Gordon Thompson, 8C Pheasant Lane.
Application of Gordon Thompson, 8C Pheasants Lane, to remove and dispose of a 101 feet of facing bulkhead and 11-foot west return. Construct new 101-foot bulkhead facing bulkhead with an 11-foot west return and a 6-foot east return for a total of 118 feet of bulkhead in kind in place.
Would one of the liaisons like to read the waterways report?
The WMAC reviewed the application and approved it 7-0.
Thank you. All right, we will open this up to the public. Is there someone here representing the applicant who would like to go first? Yep, I see Jack Costello.
Hey, guys, I'm here in Greenport, just coming in to answer any questions that you might have. It's a very simple application.
Is there anyone in the, yep, I see Tobin Cohane has signed up to
Yes,
speak on this.
yes. Good evening. Hi, Jack, we get to meet virtually.
Just state your name for the record.
Tobin Cohen.
Yeah.
I'm the neighbor to the east. And so in the last minute, I was able to get the plans and try to understand how this would affect my property. Taxpayer since 1963. The gentleman who moved in came in 2017. The seawall had been severely neglected by the prior owner. Either the prior owner or the present owner put a boardwalk over it without dealing with the problem, hiding it, instead of taking care of his responsibility the way the rest of us do, because nobody else has that eroded shoreline that I've seen anywhere on the island. And the water from that erosion came around and ate into my seawall, around my seawall, causing a collapse of the topsoil and the plants. Although I have some nice cactus growing there now, which apparently are local to the island somewhere. Because I had to fill it with rocks. So now I have Arizona, which is nice, but I can't use about 15 to 20 square feet of land. And if this strip is repaired on his side, 101 feet, with a return, without its continuing, as it did when it was first done about 40 or 50 years ago, which is on the plans, you can see it's one continual wall about 12 to 15 feet into my land. The winter storms are going to hit my compromised wall. And I spoke to Mr. Costello, who just came to get to the plans that were sent, I'm very grateful by a board member, not a board member, the town clerk, and reviewed it quickly over the weekend. And on Friday, I spoke to Mr. Costello. He took a site visit, looked at it, and said that he could continue the wall instead of a return, and gave me a price today, which I'm agreed to. The problem is, he says that it'll take a long time to do the reports, and it'll take a year, although this took 4 months. But he did say this is an emergency situation because it's in such bad shape. So it's interesting. A landowner who disregards his property to such a degree that it's an emergency should then put me into a worse emergency, because simple physics would say that if you then block off that area, the full force of the water is going to come against me. So I have a solution here. I'm not looking to make trouble, which is that the engineering report that was done, which is the same location exactly, goes over the borderline a little bit, and that initial project 40, 50 years ago was, here's my property, it went here and here, stopped there, would be redone, because right now, it's not really a replacement in kind. The return changes the nature of the project and makes it something that shouldn't be passed because it's not a replacement in kind. On the other hand, if the engineering report, which would cover both sides, could be used by the board, and then I already have an agreement in principle with Mr. Costello to get the wall done the way it was done 40 years ago, this would solve all problems. I wouldn't have a damaged wall. I'd make the application today, tomorrow, and everything could be fine. There are other issues that got my goat that I tortured the board with in the last minute, and Amber told me send it, so she'd know what it said. But there are other things that show that there's a certain roughshod riding over Shelter Island's ethos by this gentleman who put up a 6-foot wall. It's a side yard, so therefore technically it doesn't have to be 4 feet, but it has effects on passage of air. He tore up vegetation near the ground. I have pictures here that the wall goes directly, the 6-foot wall goes directly to the waterfront, directly to the end. Kills the views for everybody. But aside from that, but that's not for today, that's another time. But it does show a certain disregard. And my father was a Battle of the Bulge veteran with Purple Heart. I'm a veteran, never claimed, oh, this is my primary residence to cut my taxes. I've been a good boy. So I know you are all here to protect the island, and the coastline is the biggest problem with rising tides. And I don't think it will really affect it, but there's a town landing just to the east. So something connected to your interests. So I'd like to propose, and this would be to everybody's benefit, that Mr. Costello continue the line over. I'm not asking for the applicant to pay for it. I'm not vindictive. I'll pay for my part. And this could all be done, perhaps not at this meeting, but very soon. And the same issue that it's an emergency because of how much he's neglected it now becomes my emergency, because when that has a nice solid Costello wall, I got an Abbott destruction on my side. So the emergency cuts both ways. So I think this could all be resolved, I'm hoping, and the engineering report could be no different because it's literally from here to here. And if there's a requirement for an application and fee, I'd love to do it now, and I present this to you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
I see his property on GIS?
Yes. I was just about to say, I was starting to bring it up, but you had it.
Right next
Is
to
it still?
bonus.
Can we turn on
Down by
sharing?
Ward.
Yeah, I know where it is, okay, just what, I don't have it. Let me see if I can get it up here.
So this here is the applicant's property. This one here. And then this here is the bulkhead, and this would be where the return is. And this is the neighboring property at Six Seagull. This is the bulkhead he's talking about. So the bulkhead we're looking at is this one right here, and it would have a return. Then the neighbors is this extension here.
Not all the way, it's just 15 feet over,
Okay. So just.
which was the original, if you look at the design, Matt, if you look at the design, that's the solid line is what it was
That right there.
when it was last prepared. It's precisely the same, it's the same physics. The shoreline hasn't, at least the action of the waves hasn't changed, although the shoreline may have receded.
I do have a question for you, Mr. Cohen. So the extension of that bulkhead just goes a little bit and then you have unbulkheaded property?
No, the rest is ancient Ward Estate, concrete, like the teeth of a mastodon. Magnificent. Separately casted, sunk deep in, so that there's movement. Brilliant engineering. It didn't crack in, I think that's before the, what was they called? What was that called? The something Cannonball Express, the 1936 that destroyed everything?
Oh,
It
the
survived
hurricane.
that. And it's still there. I don't know why they don't use that. It moves, it's great. And it holds in the soil. No, that's all preserved thing. You can see how pristine that beach is. I make it my business. I rake it.
Thank you.
I have to comb something.
I mean, what other permitting would be needed?
That would be the next
Well, I think
question
you need a
is.
DEC permit. So
Yeah,
it's
so we-
15 feet right there. Just that little section.
What he's saying makes sense.
Yeah, I did wonder why I forgot to start with that question, why that extension's gone and the 6-foot return.
Because if I may, the in kind, replace and in kind, two words that seem to corner in on what was there before. And what was there before was not a return, it was with that 15 feet for the very same reasons, actually to protect both sides of the property. Because God didn't say, it stops here because you decided to buy this. So it protects him to have my side done. And in fact, if it's not done now, it could undermine his wall the other way. And since I'm not obligated to do it at all, I could just sit there like him and just wait till it rots and say it's an emergency. It's very aggravating. Obviously, I'm a little annoyed. And he didn't even talk to me. Had he spoken to me about this, I could have spoken to Mr. Costello, who was very open. His staff was great. Within 2 days, 2 business days, we resolved this. And he decided, no, that's it. That's not shelter island.
Mr. Cohen, you're,
When you build a wall that's 6 feet high, you don't have neighbors. I'm sorry.
you're number 6?
Yeah.
6 seagulls.
Got it.
I'm looking to make friends. Maybe this will be a lesson that'll make it more friendly.
Thank you. So did-
Is everyone good? Should I stop sharing?
Yes. Current DEC permit
Doesn't include that.
doesn't include that extension. Jack, what would it take?
It would take a full application to go across the property lines. So what the adjacent neighbor needs is a whole application to extend that through. What we're looking to do is get this one applicant going, and then we can continue with the 15 feet needed on his property. But we can't cross the property line. It's a completely different, application.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
And which we can do. It's just, that's going to take time, but that's a separate issue. And this will not put him in any jeopardy. This will put him in better shape because the bulkhead's in very bad shape. We can start his application and move down the 15 feet onto the other piece of property. It's very minimal.
Come back up.
Is time really on my side? If it takes a while to happen, we're coming up to winter storms. I beg to differ. I mean, I'm not a physicist, but it sounds like the wall's going to continue. I'm going to get the brunt of it. What was dissipated before in his ruined area is now going to come smashing against my wall. Time is not on my side.
The challenge is we can't approve something in the DEC regulated area without a DEC permit. So
Is there a way to get a waiver from DEC or to use the same report with the DEC? Is there something that can be done by this board?
No, the application has to be made to the DEC by you as the property owner.
right.
The only thing that we can do at the moment is either, approve and have you go through the process so that you can do the 15-foot extension, or we deny this application so as to keep what's in place until you can do a coordinated.
I believe that because the likelihood is this will do greater damage to my, suddenly, after all these years, this is an emergency. I don't quite get it. His house isn't falling into the sea. He's got a raised property all the way back. This is something he'd like to do when he wants to do it, without even letting me know. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here wasting your time. And now, if this permit is granted, I don't see how I'm not going to be damaged. It's speculation, I believe, that I won't be. But I think in this case, he's being rewarded for having let his property run down, and I have to fill it up with rocks, and he never did. I at least put boards in front of it and try to put something, jerry-rig something, and that protected him. And now he's going to be rewarded? His house isn't going to be blown away. And Mr. Costello, thank God, he's going to get my contract too. He's a good man, I understand.
Could
All
adjourn
right.
this, and if he doesn't act quickly,
Yeah, we'll have to look at timetables on, adjourning and how long we can adjourn it for and things like that. So we'll need Thomas to weigh in on that.
Is there an expediter or somebody that I can talk to who could speak to the DEC about using that report? Because it seems perfectly logical. It's the same place. It's the same study, the same original wall. Plus, it's not a replace. It's not in kind because it doesn't cover the same thing of what was there. It stops here and then it damages me. In a material way, it differs and is not an in place in kind.
so we can't get involved in the application.
I was going to say, it's not within our jurisdiction. But I do see our environmental consultant has her hand raised, so I'd like to call on her next just to get her input.
Thank you.
Teresa?
Hi, yes, it's an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA, so you are not bound by DEC. So he can apply to you while he's also applying to the DEC, so he can make application concurrent. And obviously, any changes that the DEC recommends, you can also incorporate into your final decision, but it is an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA, so you're not bound by any requirements pursuant to the DEC's permitting. So you can run those permits concurrently to save him some time.
Okay. But he would still have to get the DEC permit before starting the project.
That is correct.
And I think we have to check with our wetlands code to make sure that the DEC permit is not a prerequisite of
Mhm.
the doc, or I guess look at the doc code and see if the DEC is a prerequisite of the application of us.
All right, so we can look at that. Okay.
I comment.
There was one other hand up that I wanted to just call on. Pam, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wondered if it's a possibility that Mr. Costello could go to the DEC and look for a modified permit for the one that he's received, to the neighboring, to this application. I mean, it's only 15 feet. Perhaps there, he can talk to the permitter there and say, hey, look, you know, we should have included this initially, and I'd like to put in a modified thing. And maybe the neighbor could then piggyback on this permit that was issued. It's just a suggestion.
Suggestion.
Thank you.
There's different property tax map numbers, so we could.
I realize there might be some details to figure out, and maybe that is a problem, but I think it's worth the question. And I know Mr. Costello's got good relations with the folks at the DEC.
Yeah.
This sounds like something that should happen concurrently, and as Ms. Mason says, it can. So just a suggestion from the outside. Thanks.
Thank you.
Jack, do you have any comment on that?
Well, I think this application is worthy of approval on this evening. And then we'll have to move forward with the other applications. Like I said, it's a different piece of property. Certainly, we could speak with the DEC about moving quickly on the other property, but it's a permitting issue where there's certain, you know, applications that got to be filled out. We have to give plans. It's a whole nother thing. It's not going to be streamlined because of the situation. I mean, it's a different piece of property. I was never contacted by the owner until recently, until I think Friday. Last Friday. I mean, 4 days ago. But as far as the merits of this application, I think we should move forward, and then we'll take the next step down, you know, down the way.
Is there anything that you can do to help Mr. Cohen move forward quickly?
Of course, of course. I mean, I've given him a proposal, and we could certainly have a conversation with the DEC. But I mean, we've all dealt with the DEC several times, and it takes time. I mean, if you would accept a joint application, generally speaking, your application requires a DEC permit. But if you're willing to accept a joint application, we could apply to both the DEC and the town of Shelter Island at the same time to streamline this. It's 15 feet of bulkhead. That's about 2 feet out of the ground. I mean, it's minimal.
Can we accept a joint application?
We will have to check that. That will be a Thomas question, his list. Mr. Cohen, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, one last thing. Somehow, by his failure to give me notice, he got the law. He's bootstrapped himself into damaging my property so that he can go ahead with his project. That if he had done it properly, would not have damaged anyone. And by going ahead with this project, I will be damaged because of his recklessness and how he treated his property, how he treated mine, that he undermined mine. Those rocks, I can show you the picture. There are rocks. Instead of soil, I have rocks. I'm not a mountain goat. So I think this should be put off until it's squared away. Maybe that will give some motivation to my neighbor. Maybe pony up and get an expediter and get this thing done more quickly. Get him, put some fire in his belly that he does things properly and acts like a proper citizen. And then I'll be damaged less. He'll have to wait a little while. He's not even there all the time. His house is not in danger of falling apart. It's not imminent catastrophe. So I would say this has to be put off, shall we say, and let's see what happens then. I think that will make him get a little religion.
We adjourn it for a month and let him catch up with the process?
Yeah, we could do that.
I mean, that seems to make some sense.
Yeah.
Yes, and that will give Thomas some time to do some of the legal legwork to make sure that we're doing it properly.
I'm all for that.
Okay,
I'm going to adjourn this.
yes. Are there any other comments?
Yeah, it's Jack again. I don't think this should be put off to slow it down because I mean I know how the process is on Shelter Island. I'm over at your hearings all the time. To put this off for another month just to have somebody play catch up, it doesn't seem fair to the applicant. This application is to be looked upon its own merits, away from the neighboring problem. I understand. I mean, I'd be happy to do the other applications and work with the neighbor, but this application on its own merits should be approved by the town because there's no reason that it shouldn't be. I understand the neighbor is concerned. I would like to put him at ease that we know there's not going to be any damage, but replacing the neighbor's bulkhead only helps the neighbor. The bulkhead is damaged and needs to be replaced, and there's no reason this board should put this off for a month and, and adjourn another meeting where we have, to keep the process going. I will try to work quickly with the DEC, it is what it is, but there's no reason on the merits of this application where this shouldn't be approved tonight. Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry to take it so
no,
far.
that's okay.
Clean hands, equity. Treat your property the way you do. You neglect it, it damages others. Now I'm being damaged again. It ate into my seawall. I have rocks instead of property. And now I'm being told, well, too bad if it affects you again, because the poor man wants it done. And I understand that a contractor wants to get the job done. It makes him look bad otherwise. But there's no damage that's going to accrue that's beyond the 20 years of neglect and the 8 years of continued neglect by the person who took over, who then covered it over with a Coney Island boardwalk so that nobody would see it, except that I knew it was coming around. And I told him, fix it. He said, yeah. Take down the 6-foot fence. Because yeah. Nothing. Glad handing. And if you keep doing this, trust me, you're going to have another issue from this guy. It's the second time he's done something. And he'll be here again. And I think that Shelter Island has to lay down the law to say, not in my backyard, you have to act like a mensch. And he's not doing that. And he ignored me, and I tried to reach out to him. And the only way to discipline him and to get him to do the right thing, and maybe to get this permit from the DEC done more quickly through his efforts, I'll pay for the work. Let him try to make this happen if it's so important to him. Otherwise, it can take a year for a permit. I got to live with this for a year? Okay. I hope not. Please help.
Anyone else? So what do we want to do? We have
Me
close or
personally,
adjourn?
I want to adjourn for a
I'm
month
gonna adjourn.
and let him catch up.
I think we need to,
So we will adjourn this until November 10th.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I do think that we need to hear the application. It's,
Mhm.
the problem is that it crosses property lines, and we don't have jurisdiction over, we can't mandate one neighbor to do something for another neighbor in that sense.
Yeah.
I understand everyone wants to
if
adjourn.
he's doing this,
And we're not
trying to do that. What we're trying to do is to prevent further damage and to give Mr. Cohen a chance to catch up. And
Pursue it to
He
see
said
if
it.
anything can be done.
And, you can't, it's hard to look at a property that's connected to another property and say it should stand on its own. It's going to have an effect on either side. And waiting a month is not going to hurt anyone. It'll only help people.
I have a question for Jack.
Yeah, I have another question too.
Jack, is there a way that you can install the new bulkhead at Mr. Thompson's property while making sure that the bulkhead at 6 Pheasant doesn't become further undermined?
Of course we can, and we can make it contiguous also, because the way the corrugated sheathing works, there's a tongue and a groove, and what we do for a neighboring property, we leave the tongue or the groove out so the neighboring property can properly adjoin to it. The return there is in case it separates the properties in case either person has an issue. Eventually, when this other permit is granted for this additional 15 feet of bulkhead on the neighboring property, they will be contiguous and they will be interlocked with the tongues and grooves of the vinyl sheathing. So yes, we can do this without hurting or affecting and only helping the neighboring property.
Thank you.
My question was, right now on the drawings, I do see that 15-foot extension. Is that still in existence?
Yes.
Yes,
that's
the bulkhead continues 15 feet onto the other property.
okay?
That's the existing.
So if you do the work on 8C, will you be leaving that 15-foot extension?
I think you have to. Well, the answer.
Do you know what I'm asking?
The 15 feet on Siegel will have to be replaced when the permit is granted.
But it will remain in place
Yes.
during this project.
Yes, yes. It will be remain in place and attached to until the project is complete, until it's ready to be, redone. But it's gonna take some time to get a permit. And like I said, I mean, we can request that DEC moves quickly, but it's not necessarily mean, it's still gonna take months and months to have it done. I don't think the DEC is gonna have a problem with it, but it still takes time. And like I said, I mean, property to property, this application on its own merits should be approved. It should not be adjourned or put off for another month. There's no reason for it.
Jack, that return, that 6-foot return, is that existing there now?
It is not. It's to separate the properties in case.
I got it. So this is an additional piece that you're putting in.
It says, yeah, it's 6 feet that's buried into the property.
Got it.
So it separates their liability in case either wall fails. But it will be on the front, once everything is done, it will be contiguous, it'll be connected. But it's, basically a return is put in between property owners to limit their liabilities in case their neighboring bulkhead fails. You know what I'm saying?
So will that mitigate, because that 15 feet is staying until a new permit can be obtained, will that mitigate some of the concern? Because I originally was thinking that 15 feet was being removed, but.
No, it's not being removed. It's got to stay. It's on a different piece of property. I don't have a permit or authorization to remove something in a regulated area. So it's going to stay until the point a permit is granted and we can replace it. And like I said, it's only the wall we're talking about is only 15 feet long, and I would estimate 2 feet high. It's a small little knee wall that was put in front of a concrete wall that had failed 50 years ago. I mean, it's old.
Yeah.
But like my point would be that there's no reason to hold up this application. This is a piece of property separate from the neighboring property, which we don't even have an application for. And there's no reason to adjourn this. It's only a reason to approve this, and it would be better for everybody because Phil's getting washed out of the bulkhead. And as far as the timeline goes of when all this stuff happened, it's irrelevant to me. And I don't have a time machine to go back 8 years and, go replace somebody's bulkhead that didn't ask me to do it. So as far as the town board goes and the town of Shelter Island goes, this application should be approved tonight.
Are you're standing because you have another comment?
Yes.
Okay, come
I
on
heard the
up.
word, I heard there will be no reason not to. Mr. Costello has plenty of work, he's gonna have more work from me. The issue is, what does a month do? A month will put motivation for the other property owner to do what needs to be done in order to get the DEC permit through his own means. He has more means than I do. No damage will accrue to the property owner beyond what he's already allowed to happen through his negligence over the past 8 years, 30 years, whatever it might have been, which I did not do. And by separating an existing wall in place is a legal issue. In place, in kind. It's not in kind. A return is a different project than a continuity of a wall. And by cutting that wall and putting a return, it will compromise what's on the other side. Even if just goes zzz, and here the thing shakes more because it doesn't have the continuity of what was there, which is still up. And I understand Mr. Costello has to defend the position of his client, but I hear the word will be, and I know that it'll take a long time. And if it isn't put off so that there's fire under this owner's behind, I don't think it's going to happen for a year, which is what Mr. Costello first said it would take. And I can't wait a year while the forces of the storms hit this thing, which is already compromised because of the underlining for this man. There has to be some equity in this. It's not what you're supposed to do in a small community, or by justice in a court of equity. There's damage going on. A lawsuit would work. Well, I want to sue the town. I don't want to sue the town. But plus, I'm a lawyer, but not a property lawyer. In any event, I don't see the damage to to the owner who wants to get this done if it gets put off a month. I see only possible benefits, and there's damage to me. And 1 month may not be enough, but it's better than nothing. I'd appreciate if the board did that. I don't think it's going to harm anyone in this case. It could only benefit me and benefit schooling somebody in how to be a good neighbor. I feel like it's Judge Judy or something.
But also, we want to be clear, if this board decides to adjourn this tonight, and that hasn't been decided, it's also designed to put a fire under you to.
I'd make it the application tonight if I could.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Absolutely.
I was going to say the same thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. How does school feel?
Keep it open.
Till November 10th?
Yes.
All right, we will adjourn this until November 10th.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will now open the hearing for Lynn Sims wetlands application. Remember?
On the application of Lynn Sims, 31 Peconic Avenue, to remove existing cesspool, plant approximately 32 feet with wide native vegetation buffer, remove 214 square feet portion of shed decking, remove 429 square feet of decking adjacent to existing residence, all within 75 feet of wetlands. Reconstruct existing resident on existing foundation and first floor deck, replacing interior and exterior walls and roof, raise roof line 2.75 feet. Remove existing chimney on south side of residence, construct 416 square foot of decking adjacent to residence, remove approximately 68 square foot shed, all within 75 to 100 feet of wetlands. Remove 182 square foot of decking adjacent to existing residence. Install 146 square feet of covered entry for the existing residence. Install IA septic system. Install previous gravel driveway as per site plan submitted by Tri-State Planning, Engineering, and Land Surveying, PC, last revised July 24, 2025.
I have the Conservation Advisory Council report, and they had 6 items. 1 requires new or repaired silt fence. 2, proposed site plan A, submit a revised plan showing revisions to utility lines and septic system, or provide as-built site plan and vegetation plan. B, utility lines and septic systems are approved by either PSCG or Suffolk County Health Department. Number 3, test hole indicates water at elevation at 0 feet. This should be 12 inches.
Is that a mistake on the actual report?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to look at that, because he also says 12 feet. That seems, we'll have to take a look at that.
No, there's not 12 feet.
Yeah, no.
Yes, exactly. That's why I think it would be a mistake. 4, what is the metal cover on west side of porch? See photo 2. 5, remove gravel driveway indicated on site plan within 100 feet. And 6, look into moving structure out of the 100-foot wetland setbacks, and maybe interdepartmental meeting on next project. And it was approved with a 4-0 vote.
With the suggestion.
Yes. Planning board?
Yeah.
Meg's got it.
So they start with a description of the project that's going to happen. And then observations and recommendations. So proposed and partially completed construction. The 1-story house has been rebuilt from the first floor platform upwards, including the walls and roof structure. Work has taken place in the adjacent vegetative buffer with a small encroachment of approximately 67 feet within the vegetative buffer. Work is considered reconstruction. Wetlands permit should have been requested earlier, but it's understood that the scope of work expanded exponentially during the construction phase due to unforeseen structural issues encountered. The covered entry porch is proposed on the landward side of the house. 33.5 square feet of this porch falls within the adjacent vegetative buffer. And given the location of the house within the adjacent vegetative buffer, it is unavoidable encroachment. The proposed wood deck on the east side is a replacement of an existing deck, reduced in size to avoid the vegetative buffer. A portion of the deck on the north side of the house is falling within the vegetative buffer, will be demolished in its entirety. The location of the footings for the new deck should be established to avoid the critical root zones of the existing tree adjacent to the deck. An arborist should be consulted to make this determination. Recommendations for reconstructed structures. As mitigating factors in the application, removal of a cesspool in the vegetative buffer, construction of an IA system outside the regulated area, and removal of over 600 square feet of decking in the vegetative buffer and installing a 32-foot wide vegetative buffer. The footprint of the house is to be maintained. The planning board recommends issuance of a wetlands permit to enable the homeowner to complete the reconstruction of the existing house and deck. And then for the other accessory structures, the shed to the east of the house is to be demolished, and the shed to the north of the house is within the vegetative buffer. Portions of the decking around the structure are to be demolished. The structure is in a state of decay, is structurally unstable, and will require 100% reconstruction, as the masonry pier foundation and associated wood framing are in very poor condition. If the owner intends to reconstruct the accessory building, a wetlands permit will be required. The western deck on the structure, not indicated to be demolished, encroaches on the side yard setback approximately 9 feet of the required 12.5-foot setback. The issue should be referred to the building inspector for review when reconstruction is planned. Recommendations for the accessory building: the homeowner should apply for a separate wetlands permit addressing the reconstruction and replacement of the remaining shed. The submission should follow the criteria set forth in 129.5 and in particular examine practical alternatives to building within the regulated area. That's the planning board. Teresa Mason, would you like to present your report on this?
Good evening, Teresa Mason on behalf of the town. I reviewed the application, and while we would prefer to have had the house built outside of the required buffer, it's in its current location, and our main recommendation is to discuss whether or not we should relocate the remaining shed to a minimum of 100 foot from the wetlands and expand the naturally vegetative buffer to 50 feet landward of the wetlands, where 75 feet is required by both the wetland code, chapter 129, and the near shore and peninsula overlay district requirements. So those are my two main recommendations in order to mitigate the reconstruction of the home inside the jurisdictional buffer requirement area.
Thank you. All right, we can proceed. On behalf of the applicant.
Michael Shiano from Intersign Research Associates on behalf of the applicant. I know that the application included some explanation as to what had transpired for this, but I do just wanted to put it forth to the board because it is important. The main point of the project was to renovate this house for Carrie Markin's 90-year-old mother, Lynn Sims. They received a building permit to do a certain amount of work to start to renovate it in what they had hoped to be kind of what the minimum necessary would have been. As they continued to do the work, they found rot, they found termite damage, they found poor framing that was not structurally sound in some places. It was not safe to leave the house the way that it was. So they sought to make it safe, and while also trying to finish the work for Carrie's 90-year-old mother. All of the work that has been done to the house is inside of the footprint of the existing house. They haven't gone outside of the footprint of the existing house. And the actual house itself is not going to be increased in size in any way. It is a modest one-story home with only about a 1,134 square foot footprint. And it is, again, only one story. There have been, well, there is a small covered entry that we're proposing on the landward side. It is on the landward side. So after they did additional work to the house that brought it beyond the scope of what the building permit showed, they came and the building department issued a notice of violation for that. They came to InterScience to help with the paperwork and to kind of brainstorm as to what could be done to help get this application through the process with the town board. Thankfully, they had already gone to the DEC and gotten approval for renovations and also for the upgrade of the septic system, which they also have approval from the health department to do so. And which will move the septic system from the 75-foot vegetated buffer area to greater than 100 feet from the wetlands. And so as we kind of put our heads together, we came up with some additional mitigation measures, which included proposing a 3,884 square foot native planting buffer, which has a average width of about 32 feet, and which will incorporate both plantings that are recommended by the town and also kind of intermixed with existing trees that are in that area. In addition, we are proposing to reduce the coverage of structures less than 100 feet from the wetlands by 664 square feet, a large majority of which are seaward, are less than 75 feet from the wetlands. Just to quickly go over the comments from the Conservation Advisory Council, the questions about the utility lines, all the utility lines are greater than 100 feet away from the wetlands, so they're outside of this board's jurisdiction in that regard. We would welcome having repairing a silt fence or putting in a silt fence as part of the condition of the permit. The question about the test hole, the existing grade where the test hole is at elevation 12. Groundwater is 12 feet below that, so that would mean that groundwater is at elevation 0. The metal cover that he mentioned, we couldn't identify exactly what he thought that it may have been, but it is also more than 100 feet away if it is on the landward side of the house. If this board would want us to remove the portion of the driveway that is less than 100 feet away, I suppose that we would be accepting of that because there is still sufficient driveway on greater than 100 feet away from the wetlands in order to provide proper parking off street. I'm not sure what other comments that the board would want us to address, because I'm not sure where this board is going, as the other comments from the planning board and the environmental consultant are recommendations to this board. So I welcome your questions and comments, as well as anyone from the public.
Thank you. One question that I did have is on the proposed deck. I think it's on the, on the east side of the house. I see you're taking off, I'm looking at this.
Oh, yes.
So I see what you're taking off, that's the darker shaded area, but then you have a proposed deck and covered entry that you're adding. But it does look like the proposed deck is over, or in place of an existing deck that's on that side of the building?
Yes, there is an existing deck that is on that side of the building that is going to be taken out. And so when I say that we were reducing coverage by 644 square feet, it's inclusive of all of the deck that's being removed and the stuff that we're adding. But in general, there is a net reduction in the amount of coverage of structures less than 100 feet.
Because it does look like, if I'm reading the lines correctly here, it is in the 75 to 100 foot buffer area.
Mhm.
So it says construct new 416 square foot deck.
Greater than 75 foot from the wetland. It is 75 feet away, 75.2 feet away.
So my question is that the net increase, or is that all the new deck square footage, and what was the old deck square footage that you're removing?
The new deck that is greater than 75 feet away is 416 feet from wetlands. The
It's 416 square feet.
416 feet, yes. I apologize. So coverage within the 75 feet from wetlands. The existing, which includes decks that are around the shed, decks that are on the north side, kind of the northeast side of the house, and a little bit of the decks that are on the east side of the house, that existing coverage is approximately 1,065 feet. We are proposing, though proposing is not really the correct word because we are not constructing any new structures on that side, but under proposed conditions, there would be 421 square feet of structure less than 75 feet away. Within 100 feet of wetlands, the existing coverage is 2,566 square feet, and under proposed conditions, it would be approximately 1,903 square feet. So I apologize, I misspoke before when I said 644 square feet. Reduction, that is within 75 feet. Within 100 feet, we're decreasing it by 663 square feet.
Other questions from the board? That was my biggest one.
So you started the work and found out that structurally it needed to be, there was nothing there. It was a problem, it needed to be rebuilt. Looking at the east side shed, that's in a serious state of rot. The footings, for the decking, the structure itself, I mean, the soffits are opened up, they're leaking, the whole floor, the whole structure is in a state
I'm
of.
sorry, do you mean the shed to the north of the?
Yes, the north, the north.
So part of that right now is when they came to us, InterScience, to look at this, they did not add a DEC permit in order to remove that. And I know this was part of a discussion of the earlier application, but there is actually a requirement that we cannot come to this board unless we have DEC permit for certain work. So we wanted to, they already had a DEC for renovations and a septic system upgrade. So that is one item. And also, so we wanted to get this application in so that we were trying to make what we had already done legalized. In terms of future plans for that, they had not necessarily contemplated it at that time because they were really trying to finish the house for Carrie's 90-year-old mother. So if you have a request or if you have for that shed, I know that there was questions about from the planning board about reconstructing it in place, or if there's something else. I guess I would like to hear all of the comments for if there's any other suggestions, and then if we could always come back to it.
I mean, I guess frankly, I'd like to see that removed. Honestly, it's
I understand.
50 feet from the wetlands boundary.
Mhm.
Any other questions before I open it up to the public? No. Yeah. Anyone in the audience, the physical audience? Doug, if you would come on up.
Hi all, I'm Doug Sherrod. I'm a neighbor of Lan and Carrie. I'm also speaking in my capacity as president of the Silver Beach Association. Carrie and Lan are really good neighbors, and they are active participants in the Silver Beach community. Lan is the recording secretary of the Silver Beach Association and the architect of our website. So from our perspective, they appear to be rebuilding a small house that they own, which is across the street from their primary residence. Gary bought this house years ago for his mom, and it was literally falling down. So rather than demolishing it and building a larger new house, perhaps cutting down some trees in the process, they're refurbishing a small house, which is very much in keeping with the Silver Beach vibe. This seems like something we should be encouraging and supporting. So whatever wetlands transgressions, the shed or something like that they are seeking a waiver on, I'd just like you all to know that their neighbors and the community association is supporting their project.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you. Anyone else?
There was also Elizabeth Galley was wrote an email
Oh,
in favor of. That was it.
Great, and she wrote in support.
In support of.
Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to speak? Are we ready to close this?
So what is the outcome with the shed? I see there's calls from the planning board. Okay, they're saying the shed to the east of the house is to be demolished.
There are two sheds on the property. I'm sorry to interrupt you. There are two sheds on the property. The one to the east of the house, which is between the 75 and 100-foot setback, is being removed. And currently the one that is less than 75 feet is, we're not proposing to do anything except demolish decks that are around it. And I believe the planning board indicated that.
Okay, got it.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
That was okay. But that's the shed that Teresa Mason is saying should be moved?
If it gets rebuilt, they'd have to come back for another
For
wetlands
wetlands,
permit.
yes.
So they'd have to start the process over again and get DEC approval
Yes.
for that portion.
Teresa?
I am recommending that the shed be either relocated or reconstructed greater than 100 feet from the wetlands boundary. Again, because this is a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA, you're not bound by the DEC permit, so you can require them to demolish or relocate the shed, and then they can go seek a modified permit from the state. But again, it's a type 2 action, so there is no further SECRA review, so you're not bound by any decisions by the state.
I speak for a second. Yeah, just 1 second. I would just have a question for the board and for the board's attorney. This is just something that I'm also curious about whether a change, while there is a requirement to submit an application to this board with a DEC permit, if there is a change to the plan as a result of this board, if they are able to then approve it with that change, and then we would just go back for modification. That's okay. Okay, I just want to make sure that I understand that. It's also so that I can tell my clients in the future that that's something that is okay to do. Carrie would like to say.
Yes. Hi. Carrie Tamarkin, the owner of the property. I don't know if we've mentioned yet that my mother's 90 years old. But I'm willing to get rid of the shed, just take it away. My purpose in coming here tonight, aside from the fact that I have to, is making this process as clean as possible from here on in. I just want to get her into this house. You know, it's been a really difficult process. An architect, so I'm pretty familiar with this process. And I'm just willing to let her fight for over a crappy shed. You're right, it's completely falling down. It would take a reasonable amount of work and going through the different, agencies again. I don't want to do it, she doesn't want to do it. We just want to get a nice little house, little grandma's house, and that would be that.
So, would this board be willing to, I guess, condition that, or, so we would be taking down both, just for clarity's sake, we'd be taking down that shed, as well as the 2 covered decks that are on either side of that.
Yes.
Everything that is around there would be taken down, but I just want to make sure that it's clear that all of that is taken off.
So if you could start that DEC modification process.
Yeah, well, we will continue our DEC modification process that we had already started, yes, of course.
So we can close this?
Yep, I think we can.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all
Good
very much.
night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, Teresa.
No, what we have to do is, we're almost there. We need to open the,
Hearings.
the Pike dock application. And there was a request to adjourn, so we adjourn until November 10th. All in favor? Okay, next one, we reconvene the Titonis dock application. And I would like a motion to adjourn that until November 10th so that the WMAC can,
So moved.
all in favor?
Aye.
Well, actually, I had to recuse myself from that one, didn't I?
You said you were going to. All
Yeah,
right, so I'll
I can't
second it.
move.
So
Well, you move, I second.
Move second.
Yeah, both got it, okay. Reconvene the Sun is Shining LLC dock application. I guess that one, we need to adjourn that one as well pending WMAC review. So adjourn until November 10th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then reconvene the O'Sullivan Wetlands application. But that needs to be adjourned because we are waiting for ZBA approval before we pick that up.
Second adjournment.
So we'll adjourn that until November 10th. I saw that the ZBA agenda went out. Is that?
Yes, for this approval.
Okay, all right, so November 10th is a good date to adjourn until. Okay, all right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Last item on the agenda is if there's any public comment. Anyone on Zoom? You raising your hand?
Yeah.
Come on up. It's okay. State your name for the, we couldn't hear it. Emily.
Is there any updates, or is there going to be any updates, or where do we look for updates about the pharmacy stuff?
We don't have anything new to report, but the updates would be on the town website and then also at a town board work session when we have.
On the website, there's a banner right on the top.
It's
pharmacy up there.
So like when there was like calls or something that we're going to Stony Brook or talks of committees being formed,
Yeah, so we did have a conversation with Stony Brook to see if they would do anything with the pharmacy. And the woman that we spoke to they're not ready to make that move. However, I did get outreach from someone who knows somebody in a different section of Stony Brook that's closer related to the pharmacy. So I'm supposed to be getting that name and number tomorrow. So we'll see whether or not somewhere else within Stony Brook organization there is interest. And then I know, Benjamin, you were working with some people who are trying to come up with short-term financing if we were to do something like the medical center or.
Yeah, and that's moving along, but as far as bringing prescription service back, that's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
So.
so like the community talk session thing, the result is.
We're still gonna look at that. I'm just waiting a little bit to see, because I do know that there were a couple of pharmacies that were reaching out to the Soloviev group. So kind of want to see if that goes anywhere, as far as someone, with an existing pharmacy that like wanted to add another location. So kind of waiting to see where that goes.
Yeah.
So.
And then we
then
talked to
this-
one drugstore I mean, one pharmacy
Mhm.
off Island that said no.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
And the Health and Wellness Committee has all the comments and ideas, and so we're gonna go through them at the next meeting.
So the other meeting is that we have any information on it, because I don't want to be bothering you. Yeah. Health and wellness.
It's not a bother.
Not at all. Thank you,
So
Mom.
we all get to go home now?
Almost.
Almost.
I see Pam, you have your hand up.
I do. Good evening. I just want to thank the town board for recognizing Middle Harbor Road Town Landing once and for all. I really do respect this being the end of a very long chapter for the people of the Rams and look forward to being able to use that town landing once again. I just wanted to mention the surveys that are on file actually came from the assessor's office for all of the access points that Bo Payne and his group put together. So that was one complete PDF file. I don't know if then you're saying other surveys that have been done for these access points are not accurate either, but I think that needs a little further investigation. But yes, I look forward to the town taking care of the maintenance of it and doing the improvements that are necessary to it since the removal of the dock from the private owner. There's a bit of a bit of a slope there. It's very dangerous to get from the road down to the beach at this point because the ramp that was there was torn away when the dock was taken away. So I just want to mention that that's something of my concern moving forward at that location. And I do want to thank you again for recognizing it once and for all.
Great. Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
If there's no one else, I'll entertain a motion to close our meeting.
Make that motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.